important factor that you are aware of, within of you that you are conscious of, for your loved ones, that love always wins out in the end, even after their departure. Valerie Bertinelli smiled on television for 9 years, straight. However, no one knew. She was still alive, the life of another individual. But behind closed doorways, she was falling apart. By the time she was 20, she married a man while high on drugs at their wedding and deceived on a regular basis. She took pills of caffeine to take notes on her performances. Her second husband described her as worthless. At 64, she finally broke. She stopped balancing herself, stopped drinking, and wrote a book that revealed every single untruth. The girl who lived next door was never whom you trusted. Valerie Bertinelli was born on April 23, 1960, in Wilmington, Delaware. However, before she ever took her at the very first breath, terrible things had already happened. Her family members. Her eldest brother, Mark, had drowned at the age of 2 and 17 months, before Valerie was born. Her parents, Nancy and Andrew, never fully recovered. As Valerie grew up, she was surrounded by a child she has never met before. Her mother became obsessed with safety. Valerie wasn't merely watched, she was protected like glass. Even in old family photos, she is always near her mother's hands, letting go. Valerie didn't know why she felt pressured to always be perfect, but she had to deal with it every day. She subsequently learned that psychiatrists call it serving as a stand-in child, and it affected in ways that were concealed from outside. The household departed for a long time in one place. From the first, before the age of 15, Valerie was born 8 times in 4 distinct states. Her father worked at General, with each development at Motors, a new city, Oklahoma City, Pontiac, Wilmington, California, and then going back to Los Angeles, then Michigan. Valerie didn't go to school at all for more than a year and a half. She learned to easily make friends, fit in, and adjust to the throng she was surrounded by. She called it her chameleon later complex, changing to accommodate the others around her. What started off as her best survival tactic, proficiency as a performer. She took on their responsibilities because it was what she had done all her life. On July 26th, everything changed. 72. 12 was Valerie's age. Her mom almost didn't show up for the quick talent show that day due to the high cost, $50. Her father thought it was a waste of money. Still, they went. Valerie sung, "I Not Able to Love Him" in a 12. She was 47th in a dress from Woolworth's. Performance artist among 347 kids. About the sound of her voice and the feeling of her presence unique. One cast member, Ruth Birch, the director, saw it in the throng immediately. She asserted that Valerie had the soul of an elderly individual. That night, 3 scouts contacted Valerie's mother, Birch, however signed her. The $50 event brought in over $40 million in earnings for professionals. It might have been the biggest investment in show industry history. 3 years later, Valerie received the portion that would enable her to get notoriety, but to get it, she lied. March 15th. In 1975, she made her one-day debut at A-Time. Although she was just 15, she asserted that 16. She even feigned a birth certification. The reason for this is California's labor laws allow 16-year-olds to work longer hours without having a full-time tutor. Wished to receive the same treatment as the elderly females, and she knew that the only way to get around the system. It worked for 73 days. Then a production assistant saw a disparity in Valerie's academic records, cried and opened out to Norman Lear, the show's creator, did not fire. She impressed him, so he called her, astute, bold, and ready, but the cost of the deception over them, $127,000 in fines from the union, and the law. The funds were stolen straight out of Valerie's potential profits. Lear observed not just something drew his attention. Valerie is talented, identifiable. During her most recent screen test on March 22nd, he instructed her to act out a scenario. Her character's parents were getting split up. She started crying. She was crying. No one knew it was hers. Parents were considering in private a time of isolation. Lear saw something. He recognized that she was lacking something from his own childhood. He subsequently penned, "That woman looked as disturbed as he did." Viewed in the mirror as a child, that moment made a strange connection between them. Exhibit excessive defensiveness. A few cast members believed she was being given preferential treatment, but it wasn't bias. It was recognition. She made him think of himself. When in December the program made its debut. In 1975, Valerie was just 15 years old when she became one of the most youthful leading women on TV. While other kids were making, Valerie had a summer job that paid $210 an hour, earning hundreds of dollars each time. For their prom dresses, teenagers saved money. Valerie got fan mail from individuals worldwide. Nation. But freedom wasn't famous. It was a cage. Beginning in 1975 and lasting 9 years. In 1984, she was Barbara Cooper. Barbara Cooper was always cheerful, always strong, always perfect. Valerie, that duty had to be performed both on and off screen. The greater the show's level of success, the more she felt stuck in the character. The others loved it. In the backdrop, the show was heavy and covered loneliness, financial hardship, and separation, items that truly affected Valerie. She was going through those struggles in real life. Silently, the family was falling apart, but on through the screen, she had to smile. Every event made her feel emotionally landscaped that she did not fully understand. However, she delivered delivery. Since she co-starred with Bonnie Franklin, so there was no choice. Became something of a surrogate mother, yet it wasn't always straightforward. Franklin noted Valerie. Her mass, her hawk-like, even the clothes of her partners. Valerie couldn't behave like a normal teenager. She couldn't risk making a public error. When she finally confided in Franklin about her feelings, like she was falling apart, Franklin suggested that she see a therapist. It was considerate indeed, yet cold as well. Valerie's breakdown episodes were handled as if they were production problems, set, controlled, and repairable, but never truly personal. Her education was another victim. California law alone need 3 hours of instruction every day for youthful performers. Valerie was given very little. She didn't go to graduation or prom, missed every facet of puberty. Feel normal. Her friends were developing one's driving abilities and gossiping, and Valerie was in the corridors learning scripts and posing for the camera. For 9 years, her life was not that of a teenager. Lived the life of a fictional character on television. In addition, when she had to find out when the show concluded, how to come back to being real. In her late teens, she was wealthy, but she didn't feel free. Valerie Cooper was happy. Barbara Cooper, but Bertinelli wasn't. Every salary informed her that everyone adored. She was pretending to be someone else. The longer it lasted, the more she lost harmony with her actual self. Next, their washer love story. It all started in August. Valerie Bertinelli was just 20 years old in 1980, already famous due to her program One Day, and Eddie Van Halen was 25 years old at the time. The wild guitarists light up rock stages all over the world. The country. They met backstage at a van, the Shreveport. Halen's show Eddie had been halfway through a sentence in Louisiana, talking to someone else when he became aware. Valerie stopped. All of a sudden, he went for a walk after leaving the conversation. Straight to her. He had been delivering, holding in his hand a magazine photo of her pocketbook for a number of months, and he kept sharing he planned to marry his bandmates. That it became out that he had even tried to sneak female backstage during her prior television appearances, although security turned him away. When they finally met, Eddie was high, pills, and was so nervous that he could barely. His hands were shaking as he spoke. He kept on, he dabbed at his nose, but he managed to ask her out. There were other things besides love at first impression. The reason was obsession. Finally, awakening. Their first meeting wasn't typical. They met at a coffee shop in West Hollywood, around 2 p.m. and was unable to. 8 hours later at 10 Eddie took action. Most of the discussion He smoked while chained, had cup after cup of coffee, and acknowledged everything. He told her he's been liking her pictures, was in TV Guide for over a year. Complex dreams about their number of children, residence, and future they would have. And he even admitted that he had cocaine to help you unwind right before you meter his nerves. And Valerie wasn't certain whether to laugh, to run, or to feel satisfied. Had always wanted her so much. Then came the guitar. Eddie had brought played an acoustic with him and sang a song. He wrote an article on her. Before they met, he sang about the way she grinned, made him feel alive. It was tremendous. By April 1981, just 8, after a few months, Eddie proposed. He spent a bespoke diamond ring costs $25,000, like the pick of a guitar, but behind he hadn't. Slept for 3 hours, so it was a frantic gesture. Days. He was euphoric and paranoid. He created Valerie checks all the doors and windows. Before one lowers oneself, it took over an hour to finish the proposal, and Eddie kept launching into strange outbursts over the music industry and malicious organizations trying to destroy them. To make matters worse, he couldn't decide on just one ring, so he bought and gave her instructions to choose the one that it was not romantic, but it spoke to her soul. The honeymoon lasted They flew to Hawaii for only 4 days. Valerie had dreamed of strolling along the shore, and instead, Eddie spent the most of either the time was handed out or locked in, restroom. He had entered covertly. He had $3,000 worth of cocaine in his instrument, example. Valerie found him on the 3rd day, comatose and bloody-nosed. She had an order to notify hotel security. After he came to on the motel, he said she had cheated. Workers. He shouted about conspiracies. He was neurotic and antagonistic. After learning that he had been abusing everyday use of cocaine for over 2 years, long before they ever met. The man she fell in love with, he was the version. He wasn't real, drug-influenced. The following 2 decades were raging. Eddie's addiction just grew worse. Even worse, he smoked, had a sip, and used drugs, constantly. Valerie tried to help. She made an unsuccessful attempt to understand. She was privately collapsing, declared, "I hated the medications and I didn't hate him, but I did hate drinking. I noticed at the age of 21, she was just 21 when they married. She wasn't ready to deal. With the being adored comes with an emotional cost. An addict. Eddie also cheated. The marriage started to deteriorate. Since then, Valerie has admitted that after she altered their past following Eddie's death in her head, made it sound more romantic, more than it was in reality, but the truth remained coming back. There is no real chaos, a lack of affection, care, and support. A pregnancy ended in the midst of Eddie's addiction, and that grief was piled on top of simply one more degree of pain. Their son. The place where Wolfgang was born was 1991, however. Their collaboration was already seriously damaged. Valerie fought by themselves. After a day at a time ended in 1984, she encountered a major setback in her career. Has starred in low-budget TV movies and 2 sitcoms. Sydney and Cafe Americana were canceled without warning. Years later, she took whichever roles were assigned to her. When she separated from Eddie in 2001, things became more challenging. No, she didn't ask for alimony. They just agreed to divide child support, Wolfgang expenses. But her money was very rapidly. She was 40 years old and few occupations were available. At that time, she became a representative of Jenny Craig. Wasn't just about losing weight, it was survival. Valerie, in private, was experiencing issues with more than just money. She lost her sense of worth, said, "I've always believed that if I gained weight, I was residing with an unlovable person. Deeply absent and constantly raised, they had left injuries." She hardly found anything encouraging in herself. She kept grinning for the cameras, but inside her was exhausted. In 2020, Eddie died. Valerie began to face reality. She admitted that their lives were quite peaceful behind the public image. The media had showed them as completely different, untamed rock star and America's affection. But they were more than they looked. Even if they made every effort to hide it, the pain was everywhere. Afterwards, Valerie admitted that she clung to the dream of marriage. Too much time. That wasn't recognized for years. It had been poisoned from the start. At the age of 50, Valerie Bertinelli went into the audition room for Hot Cleveland. Not often had she been on ever since the television show Touched by an Angel concluded in 2003. 7 long years had passed. No other offers were made. The spotlight had faded. Now she was being encouraged to carry a fresh comedy series alongside Betty White, too. Betty was 88 years old, a renowned individual having more than 60 years of experience, and Valerie was scared. She stayed up late in the evenings before filming, worried that her timing was off, her spark, her sharpness. She put effort into it, constantly, sometimes catching her, forming long lines to get one, you're right to chuckle. The apprehension of committing. An error caused her stomach to turn when she saw Betty White twist. Then on June 16, 2010, the show first showed up. The heat in Cleveland didn't only endure, it exploded. It generated 2.5 million of spectators every time. TV Land owned, such figures have never been seen by me. Valerie returned suddenly, but success didn't soothe her. It only made the stakes. Even though Betty was the oldest, one cast member, Valerie, was considered the mentor. She was the experienced one, the one the producers established the tone. Jane Leeves and Wendy Malik finished the main cast, although Valerie was the one who actually had the longest resume. That should have provided her confidence. Instead, it shattered her. She would vanish between scenes, hiding inside her trailer and penning in her notebook, trying to manage the nervousness waves of assaults. She arrived early for every table reading, 2 lines and scripts in hand. Hours early, everything was rehearsed and committed to memory. She did not want to be caught off guard, nor even for a short time. Just 2 months later, the premiere, the show was prolonged for a season 2. That should have been wonderful news, but Valerie's sole feeling was pressure. More viewers, more shows, more chances of failing. The season consisted of 23 episodes. That was just the beginning. Then, suddenly, something happened. She came onto a man. His name was Tom Vitale. It was late in 2010. Valerie has just finished arduous 14-hour filming day. She then went on to the restaurant Wolfie Cohen's Rascal to dine at a home in Aventura, Florida, just alone and unwind. Tom saw her sitting next to herself and approached him. He wasn't famous in Hollywood. 44 and 6 was his age. Valerie's. Junior for years and worked inside the financial industry. He had no girlfriend. He didn't care about fame. He just wanted her. They embarked on their first date 5 days later. 3 weeks later, they were incompatible. Tom represented everything. Her past didn't. Peace, stability, and the absence of drama. After a lifetime of upheaval relationships in addition to Eddie's separation, Van Halen's Tom in 2007 was a breath of calm. By Christmas, they had already talking about getting married. Why would you ruin someone who once loved you, and since you were once in love, none of that matters. Love that. You two used to have? On January 1st, 2011, Valerie and Tom, they were married in Malibu. Just 100 individuals. It is little, simple, and silent, appointed in contrast to her previous marriage, which had been a celebrity event attended by 300 people. This time, she wore a pricey dress, bought for $800 off the rack. Not a designer, not a press. Even Eddie Van Halen made an appearance, along with their child, Wolfgang. Everyone smiled, but Valerie later admitted that the wedding seemed rushed. She had about 6 weeks to organize it. She wanted to refrain from doing too much analysis. She just wanted things to return to normal. She wanted to feel comfortable. She wanted to show that she was capable of doing it right this time. But life did not slow down. If anything, it got harder. The second season of Hot Cleveland was thriving, and the schedule was harsh. Most days started before the sun comes up. Valerie had to be on set. By 5:30 a.m., she wouldn't leave till 1000 p.m. Episodes 20-23 were released, in a flash, seasonally. Much more than she was used for as well. She wasn't getting the energy she needed from coffee. It's no longer cutting it. Then she turned to supplements containing caffeine, 400, 600 mg one day. It is comparable to consuming 6 drinks at once, cups for coffee. Then the energy came, drinks. Red Bull and Monster, sometimes 4 cans in a day, then Adderall. At first it was suggested that help her focus, but it soon turned into her crutch. It was essential to her survival. Scenes, to stay sharp, to be funny. No one knew. She kept everything hidden. They told the assistant to keep her trailer stocked. She had timed everything. When to take the drugs and when to take the energy drinks, in order for her to quickly examine the "it's time to shoot." It worked. The moment was ideal. Her jokes were very funny, but the truth was known to her. She was working under pressure, motivated by chemicals, trying not to shatter. Previously, Valerie Bertinelli was mainly as the star of a well-liked program, yet everything began to alter on August 8th.